And we are back, and we just finished going to the theater and seeing Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse from 2023, rated PG with a runtime of 2 hours and 20 minutes. Kudos to the storytellers here, because it didn't feel like 2 hours and 20 minutes.
Nope.
Although I had to go to the bathroom really bad after, because it is a long movie, but it didn't feel like a long movie. Mm-hmm. Everything moved fantastically well. Anyway, the directors are Joaquim Dos Santos, Kemp Powers, and Justin K. Thompson, with writing credits to Philip Lord, Christopher Miller, and Dave Callaham, who I think were the writers of the original one. In this, we continue the Miles Morales story, and we see some of the old crew come back to this one with some new folks. And a really interesting story.
Yeah. Or the first part of a very interesting story.
Yes. I had no idea that this was going to be a two-parter, and it ends with a to be continued. Is that a spoiler? Whoops.
No, they announced that it was going to be 2 parts.
Yes. And I think the next one is Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Correct.
Thank you, G, for keeping us honest. All right. I'm going to go around the table and get impressions. Olive G, I'm going to start with you. What did you think of the film?
That was good.
Yeah. Did you have a favorite character?
Miles.
Miles? Why'd you like Miles?
He's a good character.
Well, yeah, but did you like Gwen? I thought Gwen was kind of cool. No?
Yeah.
She's a drummer. She's very punk rock. She does things her way.
You like Miles more, though.
Okay. Did you like the first one more than this one, or did you like this one more than the first one?
I don't know. I mean, it hasn't finished, so I can't tell that I like it.
This is the first part, but it's still a movie. You could tell. Did you like this one?
Finish so I can know which one's better.
Just based on what you've seen
Yeah, based
now.
on what you've seen now. Did you like the first one more? Or did
This
you like
is
this
already something that could hold up on its own. It's just going to be
it's a 2.5 hour
continued.
movie. Or 2 hours.
Did you like the first one better or this one?
I don't know.
You don't know. All right.
What about you? Olive likes movies that have beginning, middle, and end. So she hasn't seen the end of this.
All right. Fair enough.
It has to have an end.
Okay.
We'll ask you again when it's all said and done whether you liked
A year from now.
Yes.
Into the Spider-Verse or Across and Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Yes. All right. Gigi, what did you think of the film?
This was fantastic. Best movie of the year. It
Very
was
nice.
Great.
Yeah.
Well worth the wait.
Yes, definitely well worth the wait. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. I sat with you in the theater and we conversed a little during the film. Not too much, but
I hope we didn't disrupt anyone around.
I don't think so. But I agreed with your hypothesis that visually just stunning. Like,
oh yeah, there's so many cool shots, like the way the colors are used.
Yeah, and
it's
just
so interesting.
Yeah, one of my favorite scenes in this is when Gwen and Miles reconnect. And they're talking, they're having like that deep talk, and they're upside down.
The way that looks is so cool. I like both movies upside down shots, like in the first, obviously.
And the first one too.
Goes off the building, yeah.
Yeah, but this one was cool because then you had the added element of Gwen, right?
Yeah.
And they're having kind of a deep conversation.
Yeah, well, they're talking about things that only they could really talk
understand.
about. Yeah.
It's just for them.
Yeah, this movie was like candy. It was absolute. I mean, it's kind of funny because I really, really enjoyed the first one, but I really, really enjoyed this one too.
Yeah, I
mean,
would agree.
I can't think of any flaws.
I mean, the first one is great in that you're seeing something you've never seen before.
And it's world building.
It's world building. It's in a style of animation that
you don't really see.
That didn't exist before this, really.
No.
And they're mixing the styles of different universes together where there's subtle differences, but they're there. Miles is rendered in a different way than Gwen is, and Spider Noir and Spider Ham, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Penny
Parker. And in this one, you get that times 1,000 because there are so many different Spider-Men that
Yes,
show
and
up.
they all look different. They're
Yes.
all fantastically like original, even being the exact same character.
And there's even some live people in there too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
which
Yes.
was a nice little touch because they blended that in.
So it
Like
didn't
I mean,
look off.
some of it was clearly they were just basically showing you a clip of like
older movies.
an older Spider-Man movie, and there was one bit where there was a bit of interaction, and
Yes.
he looked comfortable in a world that was surrounded by differently rendered people.
Yeah.
That was really cool. I like that, and it's sort of like if you know, you know.
Yeah.
Sort of thing. When you, I'm not going to spoil anything, but when you see that character, it's sort of like, oh, well, wasn't he in that? Wasn't he from there? And you're like, yes, he was from there, and now you know who he was in there.
Right.
You know?
Right. Because it's never
you
revealed.
probably never realized it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Unless you're a comic nerd and you know the names of everybody.
Right. Yeah, this was a feast for the eyes. I mean, there was not one thing. I mean, at one point, I wish I had like 6 sets of eyes because there was just so much going on in the frame that like you
I thought
could
that
really
during
miss
the
stuff.
movie. Like, there's so much to look at.
I kind of got mad. Well, not mad, but I was a little disappointed because there were scenes where you had sort of like the comic book, like little rectangle with an explanation of what something
you
meant.
said that went by
and it
too
went
fast.
by too quick for me, and I couldn't
It wasn't
read.
like that for me. Like, there's a thing where one of the characters says something and then it pops up to explain. I was able to read the whole thing before it left.
Well, you're a speed reader.
You're
ridiculous.
They're very quick, but I don't think the point is for you to see them really. I mean, yeah, you see them, and if you're quick, like gee, you could read them quickly. But I think it's more just the aesthetic, because that's how it is in comic books. They'll have like those little note boxes where you'll find out, oh, they're talking about something that's abbreviated, and boom, there's the abbreviation
What it
underneath,
means,
or a reference to something in the past, and it's like, oh, this happened in Spider-Man 265. And that was cool. And honestly, when it comes out on video, everybody's gonna just be stopping.
Yeah, sure.
Pausing.
Sure.
So much to look at.
There's so much to look at. And I feel like this is one of those movies, and not in a bad way, but this warrants repeated viewing, I think, because there's just so much to miss.
Yeah, I definitely want to see it again.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm sorry.
No mark against the film, but when we got tickets and we saw it,
that was my fault.
We mistakenly got tickets to the one that had closed captioning on it,
which threw you off.
which annoyed the hell out of me.
I saw
That's
your
weird.
face. Yeah.
That's so weird.
That enraged me so much because, I'll tolerate it on like foreign films and anime because you needed to understand what's going on. But in a film like this visual feast that's being served to you, you want to be able to just focus on the visuals,
Every square inch
and
of the
everything. Frame. And my eyes, and I would say it took me a while to finally be able to ignore it. But my eyes were just constantly being dragged to the bottom of the screen by those words.
Even though they were talking in the same...
Even though they were speaking English the entire time, but my eyes were just constantly dragged. And then if something was happening on the bottom of the screen, they'd put the words right in the middle of the screen or the top of the screen.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I didn't
birds
realize.
chirping. Yeah, it was... Yeah. Or my other favorite was when they would announce the song.
Yeah, they were telling you the songs.
I don't mind it.
Yeah.
I like seeing that. I like subtitles because if I am unsure as to what a character is saying, I can just look down
I
and
agree
be
with
like,
G.
well,
I
so
agree
that's
with
what I'm
G.
saying.
To me, it takes
I could
away.
hear something in the movie and like my brain will interpret it and I'll be like, what? And
What'd
then
you
I'll look
think,
down
Ology?
and it'll be completely different. And I'll be like, that clears
That's
it up.
weird.
That is weird.
That's so weird.
If you want to just enjoy an unadulterated version of this, don't make sure when you buy your ticket it doesn't say closed captioning on it.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
I didn't know it was a thing either.
That's new, right?
People.
I know deaf people exist, but I had no idea
I didn't have no idea
that
that
movie
the
theaters
were accommodated.
I thought they gave them.
They never did it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, get with the times.
I mean, in a way, that makes sense.
Yeah.
And would explain why our theater was so empty.
Yeah.
Maybe.
That was a nice thing, though. Less
Was a nice
people.
thing. Yeah.
People
Theater
makes-
was
yeah. But I mean, Yeah, if that's my complaint, that I felt cheated by from the visual feast that I was seeing because of subtitles. There's still a visual feast to see. I mean, and plus the action sequences mercifully didn't have subtitles going through them. They weren't egregious. Like sometimes you'll get closed captioning and whoever's doing it is like they are really earning that paycheck because they'll be like keys jingling, birds chirping, the sound of thwipping, or something like that. And if they did every single sound effect that was occurring during those action sequences, I would have lost my goddamn mind.
That's so stinky. Literally, subtitles are not that big of a deal.
They're not. But you know what? I think because your father and I are of the generation that in our minds we're trained to look down just because we know we're going to miss something.
You look down at when the subtitles are on the screen, you look down because you need to.
Nope.
And
it's easy to focus on what's happening.
I think after like 5 minutes, I didn't pay attention to the bottom of the screen.
It took me longer, and I was like, I saw them during the trailers, and I was becoming enraged.
Well, it was just that one trailer, and I was like,
no,
what?
two of the trailers had the subtitles.
Which ones? It was the Haunted Mansion one. And what was the other one?
I forgot what other trailers there were.
They had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle which looked really good.
Yeah, that looked really good.
The Trolls. The Blue Beetle.
Blue Beetle was the one that had subtitles.
Is that the one that had subtitles?
Yeah.
I just remember Haunted Mansion.
And Haunted Mansion.
I know you want to see that new Trolls movie.
That looked horrible. Although, I got to be honest, the first Trolls looked horrible. It was a very sweet, cute movie.
Did you take the kids to
Yeah,
that?
I took
Yep.
Olive. Did I take you both? Or
You took us both.
You took us both, and
Ma wasn't there.
was apparently horrible.
I think it was one of those times where it was one of the
When I was
many
with her
days
abuela?
we have off in November. No, I think you were at work and Dad got off. Oh yeah, I think it was that one Tuesday where we get off for like elections, and I think you got off for that too, and then you took us to see that movie, and Mom still had to go to work.
But the trailer for this
That's
was
stinky.
The trailer for this was just
Very stinky.
glitter. Oh, make me a cupcake. Oh, spit out a box of popcorn.
Boy bands.
Boy bands, and it was
Boy
just
bands, bro.
like a rapid fire succession of just irritation. But we're not discussing that.
We're not
movie.
discussing that.
All right, let's get back on track.
Let's get back to
We've gone on massive tangents here.
Is there anything? Well, did I get your impressions?
Oh, I thought this was great. I remember when we were watching it, and I felt like, oh, we've been watching this for a long time, and they've just gotten to the point where like a huge story is about to unfold before us. They're not going to make it in this movie, are they? And I'm like thinking, God damn it, I'm going to have to wait like 2 freaking years.
No,
or
next
Just
year.
one.
Next year.
It's coming out next year?
It's coming out next year.
March.
Oh, thank God.
I
'Cause
believe it's next March.
Yeah.
it's not going to be affected by the writer's strike or anything?
I think it's already done.
Oh, God, I hope so. Because, good Lord, I'm like, the way they end it,
It was really
it
exciting.
was really well done. Very excited. Yes.
Yes.
That's exactly what was going on in my head.
I didn't know this was a 2-parter. G's the one that informed me. I was
did,
like, wait,
'cause
what?
Back
Yeah,
in,
it was a 2-parter.
a really long time ago, I was like on Twitter, cause I just whatever, and there was a Spider-Verse account, and one of the things they said was that this year June, part 1 would come out, and then they said part 2 would come out next year, and I think they said next year March.
It's interesting that they wouldn't wait the full year, right? Like, I'm pretty sure Peter Jackson released all his movies in December of subsequent years.
Honestly, who knows how they're going to release these things, because everything is getting shifted around. I mean, mainly because of the writer's strike. I think like all the Marvel and Star Wars stuff got pushed back several years.
Right,
apparently, apparently, like this Avatar movie, the last one's not coming out till the 2030s. So
Really?
yeah, like 2035 or something. Well, Avatar 5 will be out because there's going to be 5 parts to this apparently.
Is he going to be alive for all of that?
I don't know.
Okay, yeah.
Is that for real?
If you
Yeah.
look it
I
up,
don't think
it
he's gonna
says
be
Spider-Man
making it.
Beyond the Spider-Verse, release date March 29th, 2024 in the
Alright.
US.
So less than a year.
Well,
Hooray.
fingers crossed that
timeline
sticks because I
feel
am
like
desperate
they'll
to
stick
see
to
how
it.
this. I am desperate to see how this story ends.
Yeah,
Me
same,
too.
same. They did such a bang up job.
They did a great job. I'm also kind of interested because I noticed that they did something different in this one. Like the first one, it was narrated by Miles.
Oh yes, right.
This film was narrated by Gwen.
Right, mostly.
Entirely. I don't recall any narration from Miles.
There was a little bit. He's like, "Oh, let me tell you the story again," or whatever.
Oh, that. Yeah. But I mean,
you start from Gwen's
point of view.
She opens up the movie and she
ends.
also ends it. She's very prominent. So
Yes.
Yeah.
If anything, I would say she's the main protagonist of this story.
I wouldn't say that.
I feel like more screen time than Miles did.
No, I wouldn't even say that either.
I don't know.
The Miles is still the main protagonist in the thing.
He definitely is, but she got more.
She definitely got
more screen time than last movie.
She's definitely more of an equal as far as that goes in this one.
Yeah.
But it's still Miles' story. He's still the focal point of everybody's.
Yeah, like
everybody's
interaction. There were like revelations. I'm just gonna use revelations about Miles' character, but there weren't many about Gwen. Like you see a bit of her background, like how she ended up where she was in most of the movie. With Miles, there was actually like bombshell discoveries. I'm not gonna specify.
Yeah.
And not only that, but like you basically just get more backstory about Gwen. But as far as like points that move the story forward and points that the story revolves around, it's Miles. There is no story without Miles.
Okay, fair enough.
So he is the protagonist. And what I was getting at on the original thing is I'm wondering if in the third one they'll keep it with Gwen since this is all one story, or if they're going to try and like give a different character more of a focus, like
Miguel.
original Peter.
Or whoops.
I don't think Miguel, because Miguel is the antagonist.
What?
He is.
That's so stinky.
You don't think Miguel's the antagonist?
I mean, I have to acknowledge that, but I don't like acknowledging that fact. 'Cause I like his character.
No, I like his character.
nothing wrong
I
with
like
his
his character too,
character,
just because the character is cool and has their motivations or whatever, doesn't mean they can't be the antagonist. Because let's be honest,
He is the antagonist.
he is the antagonist. You see it
More
in the
so than
you see it in the trailers and whatnot.
more so than the
Spot.
The Spot.
yeah.
I don't think
The Spot. I think. I'm sorry. You go, G.
The thing with that is the Spot is actually gonna do something bad that will negatively affect Miles, and Miguel's just trying to prevent Miles from preventing it. So who do you think is worse?
I mean, the Spot is definitely worse because if I were to apply the word evil to one of them,
Yes.
it would go to the Spot.
But
Because the Spot, he legitimately wants to do bad.
Harm.
He wants to do harm. Whereas Miguel, he's willing to do harm in the
In the
for-
name
for-
of good.
yeah,
For the sake of
in the name of the
everyone.
greater good. He's
He-
willing to make
Yes.
these hard decisions, and he feels like he has to because
He feels guilt for something that happened because of him.
right.
yeah. And plus, he seems to be the guy in charge of everything. Like
He is the
Even
boss.
at the end of Into the Spider-Verse, that little after credit scene,
Right.
He's the one who starts
he's
everything.
the one who starts everything. So it's a different type of antagonist. I think in this film, I guess he's the antagonist, but maybe the overarching antagonist would be the Spot,
Hopefully.
or just the Spot is just some sort of existential threat that exists
Lead
because
to a bigger one?
he is. It's funny the evolution of that character. The way
'Cause
you
he's
the
goofy in
way
the
you
beginning.
the way you see
at
him.
the beginning, and that's a crazy transition in his character.
Yeah.
He's in the beginning. It's insane. His powers barely work, and he's like a loser. I'm just gonna say he's a loser.
Yeah.
And then by the end of what he's going through, it's
He's
just like
he's a menacing figure.
he's scary.
He's terrifying by
Yeah.
the end. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a menace to
And he's like,
society.
whose voice was that?
You
'Cause
know who that is. It's Klaus. Jason Schwartzman.
that's Jason Schwartzman. I knew that voice sounded familiar.
Yeah. I caught it from the beginning. I was like, Jason Schwartzman was in this?
Yeah,
But it's funny
and
how his voice then becomes like ominous.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's
he was.
machines.
I didn't think I would be impressed with the Spot as a.
Yeah.
Because I'm used to comic books.
I remember telling you from the thing I read on Twitter, and you were like, the Spot?
Yeah.
I remember you being kind of put off with it, and I was like, oh, because I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, he's not really a serious. You don't take the Spot seriously as a villain.
He's the villain of the week.
He's a villain of the week, exactly. And they really did a fantastic job turning that character into something. I mean, they did a good job with that vulture that was there. He was awesome, and I loved the way he was rendered.
I couldn't figure out who that was. I was trying to figure out from the IMDb page, but they don't really. It's funny. There's a lot of people that are listed as additional voices.
He's got to have his own, because he was on. That sequence was like maybe 10, 15 minutes.
It was really good.
And it was beautifully rendered.
Toomes?
Adrian Toomes, yeah, or whatever variation they want. He was Italian. He was like an Italian Renaissance version of the Vulture.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I see it. Jorma Tacon.
Oh, then I got it wrong. Oh, wait, that's his. That's
real
so
name.
stupid. That's his. I read his character name. Yeah, his hobby is drinking espresso.
But the way they rendered him, and that was one of the boxes that appeared. They said, "Oh, he's got hammer space."
Yeah,
and hammer
then
space is one of the
That's
little
the one. That's the one I
explanation of hammer
read.
space.
I knew what that said, but Ma was like, "That
It went too fast for me. It was too fast. I mean, there was a couple of voices that I knew Jason Schwartzman only because I love him so much, and I feel like he should do more voiceover work. He's definitely got a voice for it.
He's got a good voice, yeah.
Yeah, and of course J.K. Simmons.
J.K.
who has a very
he appeared as various J. Jonah Jamesons.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He certainly did.
Bald and with the bristle cut.
And at the beginning, Rachel Dratch, she was like the guidance
She was the
counselor.
guidance. I recognized Rachel Dratch's voice.
Yeah.
And the character kind of looked like her a little too.
Which was interesting. Yeah. So, just really, and Daniel Kaluuya was Punk Spider-Man, Hovey.
Oh, he was Hobie?
Yeah.
Oh, I like Punk Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Hobie's cool.
Spider-Punk.
Spider-Punk
was cool.
You didn't recognize his voice? I recognized his voice.
Oh, I mean...
But that's how he normally talks. Like,
yeah.
Out of Hobie's cool, and at the beginning I was unsure of him though.
Yeah, me too.
Because of his whole thing is all weird. He's so weird, like his character.
Well, he's an anarchist.
Yeah, he's so into the anarchist way or whatever. It just seemed like it was like a real big front, but then he's actually like living it, you know.
Yeah.
He goes through the portal and throws the thing. I quit, you know.
Yeah. And he helps Miles, so that cemented him. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Out of all the new Spider-Mans introduced, I like Pav, Spider-Man India, the best.
Oh, yes.
He was voiced by Karan Soni, who was the cab driver in Deadpool.
Oh
my God, I remember that.
And Issa Rae voiced Jessica Drew.
Jess is so cool. She's
that
fighting
was
while
Issa
she's
Rae.
pregnant.
She's like Serena Williams. She's the MVP. And you know who Miguel O'Hara is.
Yeah, Oscar Isaac.
Yeah. And Jake Johnson comes back as Peter Parker. Luna Lauren Velez. It's funny. When she was in New York Undercover, she was just Lauren Velez. Now she's Luna Lauren Velez. That's Miles' mother, Rio. Brian Tyree Henry is Jeff Morales. Haley Steinfeld as Gwen, and Shameik Moore as Miles. It's so funny. I'm looking at Shameik Moore's picture, and I'm like, you should look like you're 12. You look like you're a man, and yet you have that young teenage voice. What is going on?
Yeah.
Wait, who's he?
That's Miles Morales.
What the hell?
That's Miles Morales in real life.
Man.
That's a man.
I think I remember reading something where he was like, "Oh, if they do a live action version, I hope they let me be the part." And they were like, "Dude, there's no camera work going to make you look 15."
He could be Uncle Aaron, I guess.
Yeah.
He could be. Yeah.
Although Uncle Aaron already has been cast.
Yes.
Yeah.
We won't say it. I'm going to go around
There's a live action?
No.
Not
right now.
You have seen Uncle Aaron already.
Oh.
in the Spider-Man movies.
Yeah, I remember who he is. And then when Mom said his name, I was like, that's crazy because he's also a musical artist.
Yes.
And I listen to one of his songs.
I love him. All right. I'm going to go around the table and get numbers. I'm going to start with you, Olive G. 1 to 10.
I'm going to give this like a 9.
A 9. GG.
This is a perfect 10. There's nothing wrong with this movie.
I, too, am going to give it a perfect 10. You can't improve on this. The only thing you could have improved on was making this all one movie.
And that's why it gets a 9.
No.
That's stinky.
No.
It's not.
You couldn't sit there for 5 hours and watch this film.
I could probably watch this.
I could too.
This was beautiful.
This was
It
gorgeous.
was amazing.
It was
Gorgeous.
amazing. Absolutely.
But
Absolutely.
if they did make it like 5 hours,
I'd
people
still watch it.
I mean, obviously I would, but some people might be like, that's way too long and just not want to go through
I
with
mean,
it.
some people sat through that 4 hours of DC whatever nonsense.
Yeah.
Weird,
So,
but
and I'm sure this is way better than that.
But no, this was a just excellent movie. So yeah.
would you concede that it's as close to perfect as you could get?
No.
You're
That's
wrong.
terrible.
You're wrong.
It's so sad seeing people with such awful taste.
Yes.
There are.
Bad taste, Dad. You have horrible.
You can't.
You
no.
gave it a 9 too, Olivia.
It's a 9. Listen, 9 is a great score.
But it's not perfect like this movie.
There is no such thing as a perfect.
This
movie.
is a
movie
perfect
is
film.
perfect.
No.
Yeah,
this
this is a
movie
perfect
is
film.
perfect.
No, it is no. There's no such thing as a perfect movie.
You
This
are
is a
wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, you are wrong.
I have to say, I mean, I've loved Spider-Man since the
Raimi movies.
what?
Since the Raimi movies, right?
Even before, like I was gonna say, remember what was it, Channel 11, the animated ones? Like
Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends.
was that it? And then they had like they had Hulk. They also had a Hulk one.
that's even before Spider-Man and His Amazing
Those are
Friends.
from like the 50s or the 60s, right? 60s
They were like
maybe.
they were like the 60s when they started making Spider-Man cartoons.
And they had, was it Fantastic Four?
There was Fantastic Four, but I don't believe they had the Human Torch
That's interesting.
because they didn't want kids setting themselves on fire or something. So
Kids are stupid.
instead, I believe that those cartoons had a robot in the Human Torch's place.
Really? I didn't know that.
I think so.
I don't remember.
I think they used Herbie, not Herbie the love bug. Herbie was the name of the robot.
That's insane. But that tracks. But again, parents should be watching their children so that they don't set themselves on fire.
Yes, especially when you're in a candy store and your kid is just shoving their hands into the buckets of candy.
Yes. Shameful.
Like little bastards.
Wait, that happened in the candy store once too?
Yes.
Yeah.
Which container?
It looked like they were Reese's Pieces. She had filled up a bag with Reese's Pieces. She was eating the Reese's Pieces, just fistfuls at a time. And then when she was done, she dumped the bag of candy back into the bin. Into the bucket. So her
we're never
filthy,
going back to that store
her
again.
filthy,
Almost
germy candy
wrapped
was
candy.
returned to the bin where everybody else could pick it.
Yeah.
Little bastard.
I guess I'm just like buying the lollipops then.
Yeah. Again, a shout out to writers Phil Lord, Christopher Miller, and Dave Callaham, who did an excellent job of continuing the stories of Miles Morales and Gwen Stacy and the other Peter Parker, but also adding new life and new dimensions and really just phenomenal script. Shout out to the directors, Joaquim Dos Santos, Kemp Powers, Justin K. Thompson. I think Kemp Powers is the only name I remember from the previous one. I could be wrong, but
Well, didn't Lord and Miller work on the first one?
they did. Well, maybe he didn't work. Oh, he did. That's where I know his name from. Soul. 2020 Soul, One Night in Miami. I guess he did that with...
I cried in that movie at the end.
And it wasn't even that good.
I thought it was good.
Oh, yeah. I guess he didn't do the first one. That's interesting. I thought he did. I guess I just remembered his name from Soul. He was like the co-director, I think. But I think Lord and Miller worked on and Callaham worked on the first script. If you were going to, I guess, do you want to take a stab at it? Okay, so for the first one, it was Phil Lord and Rodney Rothman, and it was directed by Bob Perschetti, Peter Ramsey, and Rodney Rothman. So I guess Phil Lord is the only one that came back. That's interesting. What would you say? Did you like the first one more, or did you like this one?
I would probably say I like the first one a bit more because it's a complete story, so you get that whole thing. It's a great origin. You're seeing these amazing visuals for the first time. This is something that's brand new, and nothing will ever like seeing something new like that is it's just amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even when you see it again and it's done really well like it is here, it doesn't have that same punch. Kick punch. It just doesn't have that.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Also, I kind of felt like I feel like the music fit better in the first one than it did in this one.
I felt like there wasn't as much music in the first one.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, just even like not even like the songs, like the commercial hits or whatever the hell, but like just like the soundtrack or the way they blended certain songs into the soundtrack, or even just made that part of like the theme. That was like a common thing, or the Prowlers, that crazy noise. It just had those moments like that where it just like everything was clicking, the visuals, the sound, the action, everything. And this had all of that too, but I just feel like the first one did it a bit better.
Okay, fair enough. So 10-10-9-9. If you are so inclined, go check out Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, currently playing in theaters, 2 hours and 20 minutes. It doesn't feel like it, but
you want it to be longer.
But it's not. And just remember that this is part 1 of 2, and the second one will come out in spring of 2024. Again, Across the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, in theaters right now. Go check it out. And that's it from us. And we bid you all a
good night.
Good night.
Good night.